Hi, this is Terry Farrell, Dax from Deep Space Nine, and welcome to Random Trek.
Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Random Trek. I am your genetically augmented Captain Christopher Ingle, joined as always by my first officer, the man who keeps me on track and keeps me from potentially quitting the war. It's Commander Brennan, the Mystical Mar. Brennan, how are we doing this week?
Well, I hope I'm doing better than some of the characters in this.
Very much so. This week we are taking a look at Season 6, Episode 9 of Deep Space Nine, Statistical Probabilities. I gotta say, I really like these characters, all for different reasons. They're so unique to the Star Trek world. We are used to dealing with, and I use this hesitantly, but a rather perfect world. Our characters are defined in certain ways, and yet these characters that we are presented with today all are clearly not perfect.
Yeah, very much so.
And so it's really interesting to deal with subjects of mental illness, instability, but as well as, I would argue, special education, and really paying attention that everybody has a strength, and that just because we can't conform to normal expectations doesn't mean we can't contribute, doesn't mean we can't be a part of something. So there's a lot of that in this episode. Let's get into the plot of this episode and what goes on, and then we'll talk more about it. So, Bashir has volunteered to help treat 4 genetically augmented individuals who have unintended neurological side effects due to their augmentations. And because of that, they cannot function in society as expected. There is the...
We learned that Bashir was, too.
Right, this is after that. After Bashir's dad is taken away and Bashir is given special dispensation to stay and all of that. So we're introduced to the 4 characters. We have the very... Now, mind you, all are very intelligent. All 4 of them, very intelligent. We have the hyperactive, paranoid Jack, the very hypersexual Lauren, the very childlike Patrick, and the completely silent Serena. Bashir realizes that the primary problem with them is that they're bored. They're super intelligent, but have nothing to challenge them. And as Jack points out, they're forbidden from pursuing any kind of profession where their enhanced abilities could give them an advantage. Meanwhile, Damar, who is now the new leader of Cardassia, remember Goldacott is not there now, Damar is proposing peace talks.
Lost his mind.
He has lost his mind.
He's lost his mind.
He did. Damar is proposing peace talks with the Federation. Everyone's watching this speech on the station. And the augments watch it, and they make several accurate guesses about Damar and his character and how he came to power. This inspires Bashir. Bashir convinces Captain Sisko to allow the augments to review the peace negotiations that are going on and to see if they can determine what the Dominion's agenda is. And based on the clues in Damar and Weyun's speech and behavior, the augments figure out that the Dominion wants to draw a border to secure a small planet that has the raw materials needed to make Ketracel White, which is the drug used to control the Jem'Hadar soldiers. Knowing this gives the Federation more negotiation, more leverage, and an advantage in their talks. This is successful. So Starfleet agrees to give the augments more intelligence. Starfleet intelligence, not brain intelligence. More intelligence to develop a model to help predict the future. If things go the way they are, where are we projected to going? Okay. So the augments conclude that the Federation is going to be doomed. They will lose the war in the long run, and they will suffer casualties in the hundreds of billions of lives. And as a result, they recommend that the Federation surrender, which will save the lives and leave the Federation in a position to rise up against the Dominion in the future. Bashir is... Yes, far in the future, hundreds of years, but they would be able to do it. Bashir is convinced that the augments are right and argues the case to Sisko, but Sisko and Starfleet reject it outright. So the augments decide they're going to leak strategic plans to the Dominion, hoping to shorten the war and minimize any more casualties. Bashir objects to this treason, but Jack, Lauren, and Patrick end up overpowering him. He is bound and tied and left alone with Serena. Bashir convinces her that the augments' actions are going to get them imprisoned and all separated. They'll be taken away from each other. Serena ends up freeing Bashir in the nick of time, and Bashir gets in the way of the augments on their way to meet with the Dominion. Bashir does realize that the augments believe they couldn't be wrong because of their superior intellect, something that we've seen with Khan himself. The idea that this superiority that exists, and that is a major flaw. But despite that, the presumed infallibility of their statistics, the actions of Serena completely changed everything. So there's possibility here, but we need help. They need time. The augments return to their institution, where they promise to continue working on a more successful plan to defeat the Dominion. And that's the end of our episode with there. The argument of genetic augmentation has one that has been discussed in Star Trek. We discuss it all the time, and it comes up in Strange New Worlds. It comes up here. It hasn't changed. This idea that if we give someone an advantage, the more power they have, they're going to become corrupt with it. And we haven't seen a lot of examples, with the exception of Bashir, where that has not been true. Khan is our greatest example of this. So what do we think of these characters, and, are they, even though well-intentioned, just as bad as Khan?
I don't think as bad as Khan.
Mm-hmm.
Khan was arrogant to the point of cruelty.
Mm-hmm.
And being a dictator. Now, if they had been dictators, would they have been as bad as Khan? Maybe. Though, given their quirks, I don't know if they ever could have risen to that position. Because somehow Khan managed to have more mental stability than they did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe that's the reason why there haven't been a lot of there aren't a lot of augments, but maybe the reason you don't see them taking over is because there's something inherently possibly unstable about it, that maybe a few people are naturally unstable who have these augmentations.
There is a certain ineptitude to each of them. Not that they couldn't overcome those deficiencies, but to me, they all represent a different type of, I will say, common mental disability that we see today. Jack is very much ADHD to the max. So much.
Very much so, yes.
Serena comes off a little bit as, I'm not going to say catatonic, or maybe a mute, something to that does exist. You have non-verbal people or people with autism that don't speak at all. They don't communicate. Then we've got Patrick. Patrick is very childlike.
Yes.
He is very reduced, very intelligent, very smart, but socially and emotionally can't get beyond what I would say is very 5 or 6 year old. He just can't do it.
Yeah, true.
And then Lauren reminds me of like somebody with, she's very nymphomaniac type, like just
Or at least she
sexuality, sex. Well, so she says, this is true. But something we do see today. These are all different things that we see in different elements at times. And I can't help but notice that gets focused on, and yet both they're dismissed out of hand for their ideas. I don't think their ideas are entirely wrong. Once they were given a task and a purpose, they genuinely wanted to help. They don't want the Dominion to win, but this is statistics. This is very Spock 101. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And if we keep fighting the way we're going to fight, billions, hundreds of billions of lives are going to be lost. But if we give up now, we save those lives. They can live. And we can live to fight another day. And yet, the Federation and our neurotypical selves are going, no, we can't do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to just give in. But I have to say, there's some validity to their idea.
Well, it's very interesting because it teaches us that you can do the math, you can do the logical thinking, but sometimes logical thinking leaves out something that will change the whole equation, as in this case. Maybe their prediction was correct.
And I think that's hope versus logic.
But the fact that Cisco existed is the thing that might have changed the whole
That's true. Absolutely.
equation.
And I don't think we can ever safely use statistics to predict humanity. There is something to be said about statistics, and there is value in that. There are patterns that we can see, but it isn't the absolute end-all, be-all. This episode questions whether human behavior can be reduced down to numbers, which is what they're doing. That's what they understand. 100%. They don't understand human emotion. They see people as variables in an equation rather than individuals capable of surprising choices, which, ironically, is what they do. They are capable of surprising things we don't expect for them. And it challenges that idea that data alone can guide an ethical decision. They don't understand that. They don't get those ideas of ethics. And again, not, I think, to the extent that Khan is, but very much so that they need help. They don't have the EQ. They have the IQ. They don't have the EQ. And I think that's kind of the gift and burden of intelligence here, too.
Yeah,
we know that they possess incredible intelligence, but they struggle socially and emotionally. Again, very much like
high-functioning autism.
Yeah, very much like that. Or among many other special education type categories.
It's very interesting to wonder, when Khan was, younger, did he have trouble adjusting to people?
It's hard to say.
To developing it more than emotional intelligence? And we don't really know that story yet.
I could say from having listened to all of Star Trek Con that not all of Khan is this overly arrogant side.
That's true.
There is a very good leader. There is a loving and compassionate leader. Absolutely is. And we will review that entire series when Brennan finally gets through all of it.
Well,
we will
guess
review
the
it.
question would be,
Yeah.
is Khan a little bit like, if we compare this to autism,
Mm-hmm.
did developing the personality that we know from Khan, is that something he struggled with as a child? Like, struggled with his, whatever the side effects of his engineering was.
And we're to assume there were side effects. That's the other thing, too. That special needs will manifest itself in so many different ways. Mental
That's
illness
That's
manifests in a lot of different ways that we can't always predict or always see. And we also, I'm not confident enough to say that Khan is in the same category as these individuals. I think Khan, and here's the evidence I have to work with this. The only thing we have about young Khan that we can go off of is a brief moment in an alternate timeline that we saw with La'an meeting young Khan. We saw Khan as a child in that institute. And I would argue that if that set of augments that are there as children were created, I would assume, making it that far, that we would not see any kind of deficiencies, because then early on I would say the evil corporation that created them probably would have discarded them or dealt with them. This is a science experiment.
Yes.
So I would argue that, to their knowledge, they are perfect.
If they had been like these four characters in DS9, it is likely they would have been gotten rid of.
And I think a lot of the flaws that come with them...
Because it didn't serve the purpose of whoever created the augments to have what they might call defected, because what they were aiming for, it seemed rather nefarious.
Mm-hmm.
But they wanted to create a race of conquerors.
Right.
And clearly our four characters in DS9, I doubt they would have been able to conquer the way that Khan did.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good point. Maybe most augments are like this.
Mm-hmm.
But we've only seen the few that aren't.
Right.
It'd be interesting to know. It'd be interesting to know more.
I really like that the Federation was willing to give them a chance, and it took someone to speak on behalf of them, an advocate.
Good point.
This is where I'm going to get a little bit on my soapbox, just for a minute.
Yes, go ahead.
It is so important when we talk about the needs of individuals who cannot properly speak up for themselves. These four individuals don't know how to act in society. They cannot process it. They do not understand it. They needed somebody who understands them, but also understands the real world. That is where Bashir steps in. He's able to stand up and go, no, I think they can do this. I think they need help. I think they need guidance, but we can't just dismiss them out of hand. And it is so easy today where we see somebody with an illness to brush them aside, to pigeonhole them. All too often, I see young high school students with special needs issues who were relegated to learning janitorial jobs, learning simple things. Now, I understand there are limits and there are reasonable things. I get it, but I hate seeing that as an absolute. And that does happen. We need people to stick up for them like Julian did. And we also need to be willing to let people explore options and we find their strengths in ways to where we are not pigeonholing them. I don't want to see a world where this kind of individual is just put into a mental place, which is something that we did in the 20th century and before.
Not very long ago, yeah.
Not that long ago. So we have to continue to advocate for them.
Anyone with a handicap would end up in some kind of institution.
We've got to learn that. And I don't think of people with mental illnesses as being ill. I see it as a superpower, like the X-Men. I know that's weird, but they are. We just have to learn to control it. And not us control it, them to control it. To control their urges. Yes. Yes.
And not to exploit it either, which is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We need that. We need more of that. And so I think this episode is a very good advantage of it, or example of it. But I also see that this episode shows what happens when we're not getting the results we want. We brush them aside.
It feels like these people, their parents or the Federation,
yeah,
decided we're just going to stick them in an institution.
Yep.
And not do anything else with them.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel to me like the doctor who was in charge of them really had any way to do anything other than watch them.
Right.
Like a babysitter and not like a teacher.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think this is very common in the Federation. I have a feeling that...
At least we hope they be evolved beyond that.
Right.
Because I doubt they would do that with handicapped people, so...
Well, no, and we've seen that indication where when you are dealing with, in the Federation, a disability, we find ways to work around it. Look at Geordi. Look at the ensign or the young lieutenant that was in the wheelchair. Malara, yeah. Disability comes around quite a bit. And you know what? Suitor in Voyager. There's another very mentally ill individual. We know that. He committed murder and admitted to it. And yet they confine him to his quarters, and yet Tuvok continues to work with him, to teach him how to control himself, how to focus. He could be rehabilitated, which is the essence of what the Federation talks about, and yet these individuals, simply because they are pigeonholed in a specific group, automatically were shoved away. I don't think that was okay.
I think that shows one of the flaws of the Federation.
Absolutely. We are closed-minded in a lot of ways.
Deep Space Nine was the show that really explored the fact that the Federation still has a lot of problems.
You know, Jack is, I kind of see Jack as kind of the leader of that group. Jack's inability to consider possibilities, to me, was no different than the Federation. When things showed that they didn't agree with, they dismissed them. You know, and it did have a happy ending in the end, but it took Bashir, it took their advocates sticking up for them and, you know, saying, hey, we're probably not ready yet, but we need to continue working with them. We need to continue. And there is a sequel episode from season 7 that in the future I definitely want to approach. Because I want to talk about the novel or the novella Flowers for Algernon.
Yeah, it's called Chrysalis.
Chrysalis, yes. And we deal with Serena. We meet these characters again, but it deals with Serena and helping her and kind of what happens in that case, and is it right to cure someone with a mental illness?
Oh, that's right. They're all impersonating Federation officers.
Yeah, they were all... That was a funny opening. But anyway...
Patrick as an admiral is hilarious.
Anyway, the point is, I really adore these characters, and I resonate with them. I feel for them.
Too.
Yes, they're awkward, and I feel a lot like Bashir. Like, I want to help. I understand how you think. I get it. we are a success story. They are not. And I want to help us get to the point that anyone with a mental illness can become a success story.
Or a disability like me.
Or a disability, yes.
Because you're right, you and I are both in that discussion.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure there are people who would look at you and go, and dismiss you out of hand. You would be pigeonholed into something unique.
Yeah.
Something specific.
Like maybe not as intelligent or not as, whatever.
Mm-hmm. And if this were 50 years ago, I don't think you would have the help or support that you have now.
No, I'd probably be in a home somewhere.
I would say that would probably be it. As amazing as your parents are, societal standards would have probably put you there.
You have to stay at home a lot.
Yeah. You get to get out and explore and see different things all the time. But that wouldn't have happened before. It's advances. And I really...
And my uncle who had the same condition.
Mm-hmm.
When he was growing up in the 70s, it was not like it was today.
Right.
On a medical level, but also on a social level.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't given the opportunities that I've been given. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, for this...
And even I had to fight through some of them when I was a kid. So.
What I love about Star Trek is, of course, the allegories that happen, but I really love that DS9 approaches this in a way that you don't expect. In a ways that is unpredictable. Like our characters. They are unpredictable. Absolutely 100%. You don't know what way they were going to go. We're going to ask the Dominion, you disagree with us? We're going to go. Why? Not because they're trying to take over the world. Simply a combination of they believe they were right, but from a certain standpoint, or as Obi-Wan would say, a certain point of view, they might have been right.
True. And then Cisco existed, so...
Right. So, for me, I really love this episode. I think this is a great example of Star Trek, again, dealing with a really tough issue in a slightly comical, dark comedy sort of way. And it works. It works really well. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, it's a recommendation for me. I would go back to this episode again.
Indeed, I would. And I've seen it a few times, actually.
Yeah. And like I said, in the future, I definitely want to approach its sequel subject, because it continues this discussion. There's an interesting idea with Bashir, who thinks he can cure someone, and I'm like,
My favorite quote from that episode is, "That's a stupid question."
Yeah.
That's the trick to being a Starfleet admiral, apparently. He's saying everything's a stupid question.
I love it. It's amazing. I still don't get where they got the uniform.
It's a good episode.
Yes, we'll get to that another time. But next week, we go into Star Trek Voyager. I love Voyager so much. All right. Wheel of Morality. Tell us the season that we should burn. Ooh, it's a two-parter. And I'll say it here, I will argue, this is my favorite Voyager two-parter and one of my top 10 favorite two-parters. Equinox.
Oh, yeah.
The Season 5 finale and the Season 6 premiere, Equinox. This is a fun one. I love this episode so much. And I don't agree with everything Janeway did in these two episodes, but we will talk about Equinox next week.
Indeed.
Brennan, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky at rednor.bluesky.social. Threads and Instagram that run in blue. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. at page turners, they were not.
You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at Ingle1984. But as always, we end every episode. Kapla! And live long and prosper.
Peace and long life.